Tell us what Notion is launching today.
Notion's always been that AI-powered workspace where we bring docs, projects into a collaborative space. But we're also really increasingly becoming that system of record where agents and humans can collaborate. Today, we're launching custom agents, which I think are probably the largest step in the direction of doing that well at enterprise scale, where you can turn your best repeatable workflows into governed AI teammates. They can monitor for triggers, you can set them up on a certain cadence, and they can pull from all of your different connected aspects of your workplace so work keeps moving even when you're offline. We previewed it at Make with Notion in the spring, and we've had a lot of alpha users with a lot of success, and we're really excited after all that tinkering to have it GA today.
So, give me an example here. Custom agent. What is a sample task that this
Yeah.
custom agent could do, and how does one go about building it?
Yeah. So, we really built our custom agents to work particularly well for three main categories of work. The first is Q&A. So Ramp, for instance, has a product Q&A feature of a custom agent. So internally, any employee can ask that product oracle. Only in a couple of weeks, it's already answered about 4,000 questions, right? So if you think about 30 minutes a question of someone being able to route that, understand, answer that, that's about 2,000 human hours just in 1 week that Ramp has saved. The second example that we have, which I love as an engineering manager, is routing and triggers. Particularly in engineering product teams, or really any company, someone might ask a question in Slack, over email, wherever you're doing your work. But an engineering manager or product manager, lots of people have to forward it to the right Slack channel, listen to it, follow, 10,000 Slack channels to actually understand. Today with custom agents, your custom agent can be configured to actually listen into those Slack channels, understand what the question is, route it to the right Slack channel, create a task, maybe reply with the relevant information, close the task when the Slack channel is closed.
And
Uh,
is this a level of integration that Notion has not had before? I mean, the idea that it can take data from Slack and then also create tasks in Slack, create some of these repeatable motions. Was that possible before?
so the tasks are created in Notion. Notion remains that system of record of where you're doing the enterprise work. We've always been able to search over Slack. Our connected search and that Q&A functionality was one of our largest launches in 2024, 2023. That really was our entry point. What's unique about this is the idea that we're moving away from the chat, right? We're moving away from it being in a chat inside Notion, but really having it act as a coworker that can be triggered everywhere. And that's where a lot of this development has been, the infrastructure of plugging things together at enterprise scale. So it's governable. It has version control. It has audit logs. A lot of the work around respecting permissions. If you have multiple connections, how are all of those permissions respected? That's the enterprise work that Notion has built an expertise on over the past decade. That's really made us well positioned for agentic workflow. Even
So we
today. Oh,
so
go ahead.
we just had a conversation with our enterprise software reporter about the corporate data wars, and we were talking about the tolls that some of these system of record companies have said, either explicitly or in some ways implicitly, the idea that, hey, you can access our data, but we're going to charge you for it. And that's sort of the way some of these enterprise software companies are going to be able to sustain their businesses. And there's a big question around what customers will want in all this, because ultimately, a lot of these customers do believe it's their data. But my question for you, Sarah, is in all of these integrations that you have at Notion, with Slack, with all of these other programs and companies. I mean, has there been any challenges there with companies putting up walls at all, or maybe any increasing hurdles between cooperation at all?
So I think every company is figuring out their pricing model in the age of agentic work. Notion is really lucky because a lot of our core enterprise users, a majority of their work is happening inside Notion, right? And so we have that native first party advantage. And we already see that Notion is not necessarily trying to replace some of your other areas where you work, for instance, Slack. However, we are that system of record where the agents are collaborating. And that isn't something that a lot of these information stores are holding. They might be a system of record for the individuals working, but no one has really been able to launch an enterprise scale system of record for agent collaboration. A great example is offline mode. So Notion built offline mode. We launched it this summer. And the beauty of offline mode is if two people are working on an airplane and you upload a document, you're able to actually resolve those conflicts. What do you do when two agents are trying to do parallel work? How do you resolve that conflict? How do you look and inspect who did what? And those don't have to be Notion powered agents. If Slack created an agent, if someone's using a first party frontier model's own agent, they all still need a place to collaborate with their enterprise work. And that's the market we're going after that doesn't really exist today. And we've seen just a hockey stick of adoption because ultimately enterprises are thirsty to launch AI products, but they aren't able to do it safely at scale. And that's a market that doesn't exist, regardless of where your information lives. It's a system of record for where agents are collaborating. Even today on Notion, about
Now,
10%. Oh, go ahead.
what I actually wanted to get into was the usage-based pricing that you guys are diving into here. Is this the first time that Notion has done usage-based pricing?
Yeah, so only the custom agents today will have usage-based pricing. We have a seat-based model for business and enterprise plans, which will remain. But as agents do more work, the value really scales with usage, not with seats, right? And so we really want to make sure that our pricing model um, is correlated with the value. So we want to price on outcomes, right? And this is the first time we've been able to successfully do it. That being said, it's the new adjustment for our users. Users will have access to custom agents today, and they'll be able to see their metered usage, but we're not actually charging on that custom agent usage till May because we're learning too with our users in the market on what amount of inspectability and control they want. Because we don't want, as you see, over Twitter, some of these crazy examples of runaway agent usage. What we
Well, that's
want
and that's what I was gonna ask you about I mean, how do you know how much the agent is gonna be working in the background? You
yeah,
put
I mean,
your payment information in, and I mean, it's one thing to say, "Hey, I'm buying this many credits," but at the end of the day too, if my credits are getting drained, then how do I know that there's
exactly,
cap
and
on them?
that's exactly why Notion is so well positioned because we understand these conflicts of what an enterprise administrator wants to do versus someone, on their Mac Mini just hoping that they don't run out, that their credit card doesn't get declined, right? And so, number one, we've been building Core Agent for our customers and trying to understand what that pricing implication is and how it hits our margins and revenues for years. So we kind of have an intuition on what level of inspectability, whether it be model selection, trigger rate, et cetera, that our users want. We have first party empathy, right?
So,
Because
so you give them kind of like an estimate saying this
yeah,
is
we're
what
exactly.
so
So
you use the data that you have on hand to give them an estimate, and then the idea here is that because you have that data, the estimate will be more accurate than maybe other companies.
right. And then we also build product around telling you, like, hey, you've triggered this over 500 times. Do you want to think about maybe a cheaper model? Do you want to think about changing what that trigger is? Ultimately, we're here to make sure that we're delivering value to our customers. The way usage-based pricing is set up is it's a really positive incentive because no matter what, we're making solid margins on our customers having value. We're not trying to make money on people paying for something that they don't use, right? And so it's a great value alignment that I think most companies are trying to figure out. And we're iterating with our customers together. That's another reason
Right.
we have till May is that we want to do right by our customers and make sure that they're paying for the use that they're getting and paying for outcomes. And custom agents, when they act as that second coworker, we're moving out of the chat, right?
Right.
It's moving
Right.
even when you're offline. Then users need to understand what value they describe to that and what they'd be willing to pay.
Well, Sarah, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Sarah Sachs, an AI lead at Notion here on TITV.